Thanks for joining us, Global Politics Horizon. Today again we have Mr. Obi. Thank you for joining us again, sir. We're very happy to have you. We understand you attended the DNC convention, and we are very excited to hear your experience and how that went. Today we have Chioma, and who's going to take over the interview, and we also have viewers around the world that are very excited to talk to you and hear your perspective as always. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. So congratulations on being invited to the Democratic National Convention. What have you made of the entire process, from Biden dropping out to Kamala Harris becoming the official nominee? What was your experience like there?
Well, my invitation actually is National Democratic Institute. They have what they call International Leaders Forum. It's like a conference, but it's on alongside the DNC event, which allowed us to be part of the conference as well as part of the convention. And I thank the board chair, Senator Tom Daschle, for the invitation, and of course the discussions for me in the conference was very, very, very critical discussions about democracy and how it operates globally, and I learned a lot. I wasn't the only person invited from Nigeria. There were other people that saw there, like former Vice President Osibanjo, and former Senate President, Senator Kenneth, and we were all there together and everything. Overall, my experience was something I believe was worthwhile, because I learned a lot, both from the forum, both from the convention itself and the organization. On what you said about the issue of Biden dropping out and doesn't Kamala Harris, you see, for me, it is something that a lesson to us, to understand that the nation, the country, is far more important than all of us. And all of us must make a sacrifice for the growth of our nation. And that sacrifice starts from the fact that you know there's a time to go and allow somebody who is younger, more energetic, and have all the time to do the job, because it's a serious job. So for me, I can only say Biden have put his name in history books as somebody who loved his country. I wish that can happen in Africa, where people love their country and say, listen, this person, this gentleman can do this job better than me.
I think we all took that away here. But you mentioned you took a lot of lessons away. What other things do you think that you learned during this convention, or during your talks and what other things do you think you've learned that we can take back to Nigeria, to Africa more broadly?
I listened to all the conversations, all the speeches and everything. And I listened to even what we're discussing at the forum. Everything is about the people, the common person, the poor people. So it is not about me, it's not about us, the politicians, us, the leaders. It is about the people. Everything is about how does the ordinary person live a life that is worthwhile. How do we care? Does the other person put food on the table? How does the other person take care of his health when he's sick? So it's about the people. Everything was focused on the people, not on any other thing. That is again what we need to take home, and especially in Africa, that governance is about the people. As I was listening to it, I was looking at millions of Nigerians who don't know where the next meal will come from. When are we, the political leaders, going to be thinking 24 hours about them? When are we going to start showing them love? When are we going to start showing them commitment?
And building on that, you know, you've seen a lot. You've gotten invitations around the world. At some point, do you feel like you begin to get disconnected from the everyday Nigerian? Or if not, what are you doing to make sure that you stay in touch with their concerns, their needs, their issues, their priorities?
I can tell you, and everybody knows that I'm one of the most traveled Nigerian politician within the country. I move around every day. I go to places where these poor people, those in difficulties, are going from hospital to schools to areas that are critical every day.
So we had the opportunity to interview former President Obasanjo. One thing he said that stuck out, one thing he said that made his leadership impactful was he always kept empathy in mind. What role does empathy play in your own leadership style, and how do you cultivate it in your interactions with others?
Well, I think I've always said it, even when I comment, that you have to have a leader I've always maintained that a leader must be competent.
Yes.
A leader must have capacity.
Yes.
A leader must be somebody who has compassion.
Yes.
Because that's what it needs to. So it's all embedded.
Yes.
So empathy becomes a natural thing for a leader.
Yes.
You know, yesterday I addressed a conference, when they talk about humanitarian leadership. And I said that is the foundation of it. Being humanitarian,
yes,
or showing empathy is the foundation of it. It is not about charity.
Yes.
Because often the time we miss charity,
Yes,
empathy. It's about doing the right thing, ensuring justice, ensuring care, and doing whatever you're doing based on the future welfare of the citizens.
I think we have Mr. Yemi who would like to ask you a question. Yemi, can you state your name, where you're from, and go ahead and ask Mr. Obi your question.
Thank you. Good afternoon, NoireTV, and good afternoon, Mr. Obi.
Yes.
My name is Yemi Adeboye, and I work in the legal sector in the UK. And my question for Mr. Obi is, as one of the many Nigerians born abroad, potentially considering a return, how do you plan to encourage young Nigerian professionals and entrepreneurs currently abroad in like the United States and Canada to relocate and scale their businesses locally in Nigeria as opposed to other countries, bringing their valuable insights in tech, healthcare and energy to Nigeria? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. If you had followed me, I've always said that when they talk about brain drain, I said it will be brain gain. We can't build the new Nigeria without you people. We actually need you. Look at what is happening in Asian countries, from India to Vietnam. China, we're talking today, was the same experience. It was Chinese people that left China. It was Indians that left India. That came to the Western world, acquired knowledge, and decided to build a better life for their people. And they came back. Once you create an enabling environment, you become a brain gain, because we need you for the next phase. But now we cannot say to you, come back and get kidnapped. Come back, because we haven't put the infrastructure for you to return. The place needs to be secure. Physical insecurity is number one. And then we provide the food insecurity for the people that are there. And then become cheap labor for you to come down and turn the place around. We can't do anything without you. You are going to do the first phase, the next phase, but we need to lay the foundation for you to come back. And I'll show you that is where we're going. That's why I always say, let's dismantle this present criminality and bad governance and ensure that things are working well.
As I was talking to my mom coming here, I said, Mom, what question would you ask Mr. Obi? She said, hey, I don't have a question. She said, no matter what, I want him to know that he shouldn't quit, no matter what. So what motivates you to engage in public service, and how do you maintain your passion, even despite the various challenges that you, I'm sure, encounter on all fronts?
Well, you know, I've never really told people about my encounters, difficult encounters and everything. But you can imagine what is happening to other people in Nigeria, even the rich and famous. So you can imagine what I'm going through. But for me, my commitment, I've said repeatedly, I'm not desperate to be president of Nigeria. I'm desperate to see Nigeria work. Look at what Yemi just said this morning. They're all over the world. They want to come back home. So we must fix the place. And fixing it is not, again, very difficult. It just requires people who are committed to good governance. People who are committed to using the resources of the place to build a better country. And the resources are there.
Yeah. So for those who feel like Nigeria is not going in the right direction, you know, what do you tell them? Do you tell them to just wait out the next 3 years, or what should they be doing in the meantime? What can they do to get closer to the Nigeria that they want?
Well, for me, you know, elections are every 4 years.
Yes.
Let's not have come and go.
Yes.
What we need to do is to stay engaged.
How would
Build
you tell
more, stay engaged, come together more, build more network, to ensure that we resist and be able to effect change through the democratic process.
So so these recent protests that occurred, how does that fit into your answer?
Well, you know, the protesters said they were protesting for hunger,
Yes.
which everybody can see,
Yes.
which everybody can feel,
Right.
you know. And for me, I've always said protest is a natural part of democracy and nation building. People have to. And if they do so, let's engage them,
Yes.
discuss with them, find ways in which we can discuss their issues, and if the issues are genuine and convincing, be able to show the plan on how we can tackle it or deal with it.
Do you think in the current environment in Nigeria, are there any effective alternative ways to protest? To just protesting? Is there anything else that can be done?
Well, there is so many things you can do. They are already doing, they've done protests. You continue to educate the people on their rights, continue to engage, and through various other means that are within the law.
Okay. And what's going on with the Labour Party in Nigeria from a party leadership perspective?
Well, we have, like every other party, a problem which we are trying to resolve. I can tell you, we're trying to do everything possible to see how we can resolve that.
For those who may be unfamiliar, can you enlighten them on the...
Well, you know, the issue of Labour Party on one side, the issue of Nigerian Labour Congress, who have been demanding particular thing. Now we have a situation where I'm sure there will be a meeting of the maybe stakeholders, be a meeting of National Executive Council of the party. All these things are going to come on to be able to discuss the way forward. But what we're going through is not peculiar to us. No. It's in all the parties in Nigeria.
Definitely. And
again, it's because of the structure we operate as a country.
To draw back on that question, there's a lot of questions that are coming. The fact that you were the presidential candidate of the party, the fact that being able to bring those parties together should be something that should be easily be able to happen. And people are concerned that the fact that you guys have not gotten that in order yet, what do you think has to be done to put that to rest?
You know, people, unfortunately, when people talk, they don't look, because we are people who believe in rascality, which is what we are trying to change. Before you talk, you have to look at documents. The constitution that Labour Party operates today does not give me any power to do what people think I'm going to do. You are part of this organization. If you don't have powers to act as CEO, can you just start acting as CEO?
No.
You have to have the power. And somewhere you have to drive that power from somewhere. People just sit down and think, oh, you can just come out in the morning and start flogging everybody. No, there's a constitution, there's a guideline that I have to follow. So at this stage, what I can do is to continue to talk to the relevant parties to see reason why they will do this. If we are operating what I had always advocated, even if it's not parliamentary system, a semi-parliamentary system, I would have been maybe in the parliament as leader of the party. And that would have been something different. Some people said to me, oh, look at what is happening in South Africa with, say, Julius Malema. I said, well, listen, because their system allows that is in parliament as the leader of the party. It's not the same thing in my own situation. But I assure you, I'm talking to the relevant persons, parties, to be able to come together.
To also continue on that question again, there are other questions about people in your party that are unhappy. Case in point, Kenneth Okonkwo, who used to be, or was a spokesperson of the Labour Party, that feels that you are not acting to resolve a lot of these issues, so he has left. What is your position on trying to keep people like that within the party, or what's your position on Kenneth Okonkwo's position?
I've told you, I think I've said it, I can't act rascally. I've never been known to be somebody who operates rascally. I operate within the rules, within the guidelines and everything. And that's what we want to enthrone. You know, it's easy for anybody to say anything. You know, like I said, all those who left are my brothers. They are my people, who are my associates, whom I worked, whom I'm pleased with and everything. But I would never be part of what I'm trying to change. If I wanted that, I wouldn't have finished being governor when in the history of the country nobody left money. I would have taken it like every other person. So if you want to, if you say this is what you want to do, I would have signed into law, which has already been passed by the House, my own pension like every other person did. So if you want to change something, a leader must be an exemplary person by his behavior and conduct, even when it does not favor him. What is happening in Labour Party today is not what I wish. Even I'm going to lose from it, it will not make me to act rascally. I must act and work within the law. And I can go and check all my involvement since I started this politics, or even in business. You will never see me involved in area where people will say he acted rascally. People can speculate, people can even fake it there, but never.
We just saw, due to the Ogun State administration, Ogun State governor, Nigerian jets were seized overseas in France based on a situation with a Chinese company. Now, the state this is something that happened within the state government side, and is now affecting the presidential jets being seized. What is your position on that situation, and how is impacting the visual optics for Nigeria as a whole, as a country? And do you think it's fair that the state government did something and the federal government is now having to pay the price for it?
Well, for me, the first thing to say that what we are going through now is very, very shameful and very negative in terms of the perception of our country. And something needs to be done very quickly. And I've made my humble request is that we need to urgently audit the country's debts at national, sub-national level immediately to know the quantum of the debts that we owe, because I believe that we don't have the exact size of the debts, know who and who we're owing, and most importantly, know what those debts were used for, or how they were contracted or sourced. Because the law says that all borrowing, all debts is supposed to be used for critical area of development. So where are the benefits of those debts to the people? Because the people are not going to pay it. Where is the benefit? This is time to do the audit and know what we are going through, so that especially as we don't have not just presidential jet. Somebody was telling me about
a property in Liverpool.
London,
in Liverpool,
being seized and put for auction. Somebody is telling me about another jet belonging to Nigeria in Canada and everything. This is time to deal with it, because sooner or later they probably will start seizing Nigerians. If you issue your passport, you are arrested for being a debtor. So before it gets to the place where we can no longer move around as Nigerians without being arrested, let's know exactly what it is all about. Similarly, that we need to audit now all our upfront sales of our oil, because the law says it must be used for critical, strategic, national issues. What did we use all these resources for?
And I'm glad you just talked on that oil situation. The fact that we have Dangote refinery seeking to process to have the federal government offer them a sale of oil so that they can be able to, based on the refinery being built. What is your position on the controversy that's going on regarding?
I've said it, it shouldn't have been. If there's anything we need to do today, is to, as quickly as possible, ensure that the refinery gets all the crude they need.
So you feel that they should get all the crude they need?
Everything, as quickly as possible.
Why?
And that's why I said we must today. One of the trades we have on foreign exchange is importation of refined fuel. So if we have something local that can help us manage that situation, we should have been very, very aggressive in ensuring that it's operational.
But that's before you build a refinery, Mr. Dangote, shouldn't he have consulted to ensure that
no, I will pass that stage.
Okay.
I will supply to anybody who have a refinery today as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much.
So let's take this question from Deron Johnson. Mr. Johnson, go ahead and introduce yourself, say where you're from, and go ahead and ask your question of Mr. Obi.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, NoireTV, and good afternoon, Mr. Peter Obi.
Good afternoon.
My name is David Deron Johnson. Yes. So my question is just one, straightforward. Please, during your campaign, you also said that you were going to remove the subsidy, the fuel subsidy. So my question is, what were your plans and your programs that will act as a cushioning effect for when the subsidy is removed, as you said in your campaign? That's all. That's my question.
Thank you. If you have followed my campaign, my brother, if you have followed my campaign,
sir?
If you have followed my campaign, you would have seen what I said there clearly. I said you have 50% component of the subsidy were fraud. I did mention it that I'm going to remove subsidy. The first thing would have been to eliminate the fraud side of it, because everybody knew that the amount of fuel we were consuming were far in excess of what we were supposed to be consuming because of the fraudulent activities. And this is measurable. We compared it with the other countries who have even more vehicles than us and found that their consumption is about a third of ours. So we would have removed that fraudulent side of it first, and then you would have brought it to about 50% of what we're paying, and then plan with consultation, meetings of the stakeholders, how we can gradually remove the same, and then showing Nigerians the benefits and of that removal. Either that we can't afford to pay it any longer, or we're going to save the money we're using to pay it and put it in critical area of development like health, education, and pulling people out of poverty. We are told that billions were saved. Where was those billions invested? We're told they started paying, so there's so much confusion. We want the system to be transparent and people to be informed of what is happening. Thank you.
And it looks like we
Thank
have
you very much.
another question from Charles.
My name is His Royal Highness Charles Ebwe. His Excellency, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
My question is, as Nigerians, we know some of our problems. When you have large cost of governance, people in the Senate, people in the House of Rep, making millions of naira, even having newspapers allowance that nobody reads newspapers anymore nowadays, everything's online. I strongly believe that if Nigerian current government cannot control the expenditure, what they dish out to all the people representing us, we will continue to have difficulties in managing the affairs of the country. What do you think, as a former governor or as a presidential aspirant, what should be the minimum salary for those people representing us in the House? Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you have followed me, Charles, you know I've been, I don't know how to describe it, but a very, very, very campaigner of cutting the cost of governance, aggressively ensuring that it's reduced to minimum. And it's not just those who are in the house. From the executive, I've operated at that level as a governor, and I can tell you the cost of governance in Nigeria is not just irresponsible, it's criminal, because there's so much waste. And that you can drop to a very minimal level and have resources to deal with other issues. You can't just have people stay in one place, renovating houses, building palaces, buying planes, while abandoning critical areas of development. I just told them yesterday that the number one critical area of development is health. And you can't talk about health without talking about primary health care. If you look at the budget of our capital budget of our primary health care, because when you talk about budget, yes, what you put into the recurrent is to pay, but the capital side of it is what will allow you to build the necessary infrastructure. If you look at the capital component of our primary health care, which is the foundation of health, for 2024 is about 59 billion plus. If you look at the capital budget of all our teaching hospitals, from that of Ibadan, University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, University of Nigeria, Soka, Ahmadu Bello University, University of Jos. If you put all of them together, all the universities, which is this is your specialist teaching hospitals, where you can say that is where the best is. If you put their capital budget and or primary health care together, it is not up to the money we used to buy a new plane. That is where the problem is. The same thing goes to National Assembly, where you have budgets like what I've mentioned, I think in my last year, you have a budget where we don't have a national library where people can go and have reference and everything. The budget for it this year is under 1 billion, but you have National Assembly Library for 15 billion, which nobody is going to use. So for me, it is something you need to dismantle. And there are things I follow, and I read this and I know what is happening. So it's not about me, it's about if you're there, you have to come out and show this is the way to go. But it has to start with you, who is on the executive side, before you can tell other people to manage their own situation.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Just a point of clarification, there is a link in the comment section for anyone who wants to ask questions. But I did see one question that I'd like to ask. I think it scrolled up, but what is your perspective on the current situation with Nnamdi Kanu and how he's been treated? Do you have any?
Well, I've always said about agitators that I'll discuss about all agitators. Whoever is agitating, whoever is protesting, I must discuss with the person, because there's nothing wrong in anybody, for me, agitating. There's nothing wrong in anybody protesting. There's nothing wrong if anybody even call me bad name. Because if I expect the whole registered voters or the whole 200 million Nigerians to be in love with me, then I'm mad. There will be at least 40-50% who don't want to see my face. All I need to do is to continue to engage them to earn their own flourishing. You're a leader. The job of a leader is to every day work hard to find solutions to the problems of the people. Working hard every day to ensure that the people benefit from governance. In so doing, more and more people who want to love you, work with you, want you. You don't do that by leadership. It's about service, service, service. Finding solutions. It's not about harassing people. It's not about throwing people into jail. Everybody saw it. As a governor, I can say it, no policeman, no military man, no security man will ever say, one day I asked him to do what is wrong, to arrest anybody, to do anything, because it's not necessary. There's so many people who disagree with me as governor, and they help me. When people disagree with me, they're helping you.
And that's that was going to my next question. How do you deal with criticism, and have you found anything valid in the criticism so far?
Whenever the job of a leader is to listen, the critical component of your leadership is listening and learning. If you can no longer listen and learn, you should not lead, because you don't know everything. You must be able, and you must also be able to know that from time to time you must go to the people to be able to evaluate what you're doing, because whatever you do as a leader is demand driven. It is you're doing what the people want. So if you go, it's like when they sell something in a shop, they say, if you don't like this, you return it to some place. Or if you find anything wrong, it's the same thing with politics. I'm doing something based on what the people demanded and everything, and be able to say quarterly, what did we do right and wrong, and listen to the people. As governor, we are doing quarterly review of all our activities and action for the 8 years I was in government, so that you know, and you will go to the people from time to time and they do a town hall and they listen to you. And I believe that today, as President of Nigeria, quarterly or biannually, I leave Abuja, go to Kano and stay, go to Sokoto, anywhere and stay and say to the people, I want you to tell me whether we're on the right track or not. I want you to contribute how we can solve this problem.
Yeah, hi again, Mr. Obi. I had a question regarding foreign policy. So what do you believe Nigeria's foreign policy should look like? And what is your feeling on the current government's approach to foreign policy? I've seen in the UK that you've advocated for Keir Starmer to become Prime Minister in the UK. Would you engage with leaders in the UK, the US, China, as well as Africa if you became president?
Well, I mean, your foreign policy has to start with your domestic policy. If you have a strong domestic policy, strong economy, stability, you will be able to engage the outside world better. They'll be able to respect you. You'll be able to get something out of it. So these are things, for me, the first thing is to be able to do, one, security, personal security, security of life and property, deal with food insecurity, deal with ineconomy and pulling people out of poverty, ensuring health, power and everything. Before you can talk about going to engage people outside, yes, we might need them here and they're not for charity. I've said that Nigeria doesn't need foreign aid. What we need is good governance. And then we can then start to talk to the world where they will respect us and we respect them. We definitely will want to work with other people outside Nigeria in trying to find ways of governing more effectively in Nigeria. And I will engage all of them, but I'm not going to go begging for food. It will not work.
Can you discuss a mentor or a figure who has significantly impacted your leadership style, your decision-making progress, your process? Who is that for you?
Well, you know, I read a lot, so there's quite a number of them.
Please recommend
It's not, you would have, well, probably there are not people you will, when I say, I look at countries and what countries are doing. For me, I don't go looking just at this figure or this figure. I look at the overall thing that countries are doing. So on one side, I believe, like we discussed what Biden did earlier, you know, people who love their country above their own ambition. That is a very critical influence in all of us. I'm looking at it every day and said, wow, this is what it should be. I'm looking, of course, from Mandela to Gandhi to also, again, somebody like Mandela, you know, they were begged him to do a second term, which he said no. So he did almost what Biden did.
Yeah.
So you look at all these things, you look at where people were ready to do, they're not looking at their personal gain. They took decisions that were very difficult, like Margaret Thatcher did in the UK, for the sake of her country. You know, that this cannot continue, we cannot continue. He wasn't doing it when Margaret Thatcher was dismantling all those companies and privatizing them. He wasn't gaining in it. We did privatization, you know, and we're still going on doing it. But you find out that if you go and see those things that are privatized, they are like people were benefiting from them. It was a case of we were privatizing profits to people and the companies are not doing good, so we're socializing losses.
And I think we have a question from Mr. Eze. Are you there?
Can I go?
Yes.
Yeah, can I go with the question?
Yes, please. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from and please ask your question.
It's Charles Ebe again. I'm from Maryland. The question I wanted to ask was, I was disappointed at the last election that we have the European representatives came to see the election and they saw that it was rigged and all that stuff. And still, the foreign policy, Nigerian government still, those that came to witness the election knew that the election was rigged and nothing was done by the European government. So how do we still have a foreign relationship with those people that did not represent during the election properly? What kind of trust do we have on them coming to watch another election?
Well, Mr. Charles, foreign observers are just there to observe. They're not going to change your country. I'm one of those who believe that we don't have any problem with foreign countries and they can't change Nigeria. When people blame them, I disagree with it. The problems in Nigeria are Nigerian problems. They can be solved by Nigerians. If Nigeria decides to have a good leader, we'll get that problem solved any day. And I've said it repeatedly when I was campaigning, that I will concentrate on building a strong Nigeria that will be secured, that can feed itself, and engage with foreigners on the proper terms.
Thank you.
So while we wait for someone else to join us there, of course, inflation is a tremendous problem in Nigeria. If you were president, what actions would you be taking right now to alleviate the inflation?
Well, you have to look at where the inflation is coming from, or the critical areas where you have the highest inflation, or where you have the trend growing is on food inflation. It is food inflation because your farmers and everybody you're not producing enough. So what you need to do is to secure the north and ensure that your farmers go back to encourage additional farming, because you have vast uncultivated land. So that shouldn't be a problem for you. It is something that if given the right attention, within a few years will be a different story.
So you've mentioned, of course, we know we're an oil-dependent economy. You've mentioned agriculture is extremely important. What other industries do you think are paramount to nurture at this junction?
Well, you have to start with, you have to start with food. You know, because like I said before, if you have physical security, which is life and property, you need to deal with food security, so that people will be sure of food. You need to deal with other critical areas. Today, Nigeria is not a productive country. It is just consumption. You need to make it productive. A country of over 200 million people, our production is low when you compare it with countries like Vietnam. So we need to do more. And I believe that we can earn more money from agriculture, which we have vast uncultivated land in the north, than we earn from oil. I believe we can earn more from manufacturing than we earn from oil, because we already have the huge market. We have this sub-Saharan Africa to sell, and the world is looking for cheap labor, which we have. So all we need is to invest in human infrastructure, in education, to train the human capital that is required for production, ensure that our productive capacity is increased through ensuring that there's power, there's other supports from government to aid manufacturing.
Well, in the meantime, a question I also have is, how do you approach your decision-making process? Both personally, politically, professionally, what's your approach to resolving difficult issues that you're facing?
By discussing it with people.
Okay. Who do you discuss it with? Who's your board of directors?
Well,
your advisors?
Quite the people.
Okay.
Because it's the people who you're serving. You must be able, it's like selling a product. You don't just stay in your house and say, I want to sell this product. I like this product. The people have to have need and demand for the product. Same thing is governance. It is the people. So you must, that's why I said, your advisors are the people. Then you can now look at it and say, using your own knowledge to aggregate, this is the right way to implement it and everything. That's why I said you must always be reaching out to the people. The governance is demand-driven.
Yeah, that's true. I think we have Mr. Eze back. Would you like to introduce yourself, let us know where you're based, and ask your question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you for including me here. And my name is Eze Inyama. I'm happy to interact with you guys, including Mr. Peter Obi, who I've been longing to see, to know who that man is. But I'm happy today. I want to ask you a question. Please. My question is, I know that everybody loves you. Many people love you. Two questions. Are you going to run in 2027? Another question is, if you are going to run, on what platform are you going to run? Since I have been watching what is going on in Nigeria, and I see that there are some local government or some states where the Labour Party is not active. So I want you to clarify on that. That is the two questions I want to ask.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Eze. Let me clarify your first position. Everybody loves you. If everybody loves me, I run for cover. That is, no human being is loved by everybody. There must be some people who don't like to see your face. So there may be, there's considerable number of people who, again, believe in what I'm saying, and they know I mean what I'm saying. So that's number one. Are you going to run in 2027? For me, my preoccupation now is not about 2027. It's about Nigeria today. Because we so get preoccupied by the next election that people do not put proper checks in what is happening today. Nobody knows who is going to be there in 2027. If I'm there in 2027 and I have the opportunity, yes, I will run. But I need to be there. What I need to do now is to show that I'm a politician who believes in the people's welfare, who believes that the people of Nigeria are not today being governed well, and continue to say this is right, this is wrong. On which platform is same thing. I'm a Labour Party member. I'm always a loyal member of any party. Yes, people will say he has left this party, he has left this party, he has left this party. One day, those who are close to me will tell the story of how I left all those parties. The truth is that every party I've left, I've been pushed to leave. This morning, somebody asked me a question about something. I said, I don't stay where there's a problem. I've never knowingly, whether it's in private or in public, quarrel with people. I don't stay. I would rather be the loser and be called a coward and go out of it in peace than stay where there's quarrel. So if people tomorrow say, we don't want you here, I'll move on. That is not weakness. It is a virtue. Just like people will say it's simple, it is a virtue. People will say it's patient, it's a virtue. You must be able to do things where you tolerate others, and if they don't want you, don't quarrel with them. You move on. My commitment is for a better Nigeria. I don't know where I'm going to stay to be able, and I believe that we need to work together with other entities in order to be able to change the country.
All right. My name is Chukwuebuka. I'm currently based in Nigeria. So, my first question is currently what is happening in Nigeria, as you said, 2 days ago now and yesterday, some journalists have been arrested, and also without any information of what they've done and all the rest of them. Like last night or 2 days ago, we heard about the founder of Telegram arrested in France, and then the reasons why he was arrested was put out here for people to know. But in Nigeria, journalists are being arrested without any information of what they've done and all the rest of them, and then keeping them incommunicable. So my question is, what are you doing, like, to telling the leaders of the use of telling people, even though there's need to arrest someone, to open up and tell the public the reason why the person is arrested. Then secondly, my question is about collaboration in terms of making Nigeria great again, or keeping building the new Nigeria we are talking about. How are you collaborating or meeting people all over Nigeria to join hands with you and then achieve this vision? So these are my two questions. Thank you.
Well, starting from your first question about journalists and people being arrested without listening, I've said that for me, if I was involved, it was under my watch, nobody would be arrested unlawfully. And nobody would be harassed unlawfully. Everything we're going to do, one of the things I want to enthrone is that intangible assets of law and order, and living with the rule within the law, making sure that the right things are done always, because it's critical for people to live in a society. On what you said, if you're in Nigeria, you know that I'm moving around, trying to get people to understand and join in what I'm doing, trying to make them to do it themselves. So it is important. Well, issue of Labour Party for Cliff is that he's talking about local governments and everything. Again, somebody's talking about where Labour Party is not functional. The functionality of party is people. As you know, it is not easy to be in a party that is not in government, because the transactional system, our politics today is transactional. So being in opposition like I am, and even moving around, you're getting as a mad person. Where are you getting the resources? How are you doing it yourself? Why will you be wasting your resources? Because everything is waste. They want you to be where something is being shared. So it is people. When people apply and they're fine. If they don't, we can't force them.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be on the panel this morning with the governor. And a little background on myself: I'm a former soldier and diplomat with experience in Asia and Africa, a lot of gray hair, and also in international business development. And you've asked a question about the quote, the new tribe. As the governor has so eloquently established in the discussion this morning, engagement is a key factor. And the question is not just engaging in a political party sense, but engagement across the board, across all, whether you're on religious grounds, ethnic grounds, linguistic grounds, states, north, south, east, or west. So the question is, how do you aggregate all the problems and the discontent in a cohesive way to solve problems, as the governor has addressed? Well, one concept, and this announcement will be made actually on the 1st of October, which is your National Day, and I've been working with Patrick Utomi and the governor, and the concept is called the new tribe. Well, it's a movement, and any movement has to start with some values, as was pointed out by the governor. It's cultural values that has to drive the initiatives. And this new tribe is built around an ethos of justice, engagement, empowerment, prosperity, transparency, accountability, all those factors that not only apply to good government, it applies to a family, a religious organization, and a private sector. Any organization has a culture, and that culture reflects the way that institution operates. And again, within that culture, and I'm an old military guy, the leader sets the tone. And the organization reflects the character and the ethos that leader brings. And we're sitting right beside a leader who's proven in the private sector and in government. I would note that who enjoins in this new tribe? Everybody. All the Nigerian citizens, the diaspora, anyone who's interested in Nigerian issues is welcome to join. There's no criteria, no one's excluded. And here's how to do it. The website, which is very well constructed, is up now.
We'll make sure it gets in the comments as well.
And the website is thenewtribe.com.ng. I'll say it again. It's all one word, thenewtribe.com.ng. On that website, there's a whole series of factors. So this is an engagement tool. And these factors, about 14 of them, you can sign up, and it's a chat type operation. Say you're interested in infrastructure or medical or good governance, whatever it is, you can join that group and basically have a group discussion, identify problems, but also solutions.
So we'll make sure that we get that website up in the comments, and again,
well,
for anyone.
put that up in the comments.
Yep, so anyone looking for concrete ways to get involved, this is definitely something you need to check out. Again, it's going live.
This is an engagement tool. Mm-hmm. It engages people across the board, and I would note that it's also a way to disseminate information. Patrick, you told me we'll do a document called State of the Motherhood every quarter, and it'll be published on here. So it's kind of it's a multi-purpose informational tool. And when we look at, it was mentioned before, the role of the diaspora, there are 500 to 700,000 diaspora in the United States. They're a key resource, they're key communicators, they're educated, they're wealthy, and they can play a significant role. And worldwide, Canada, UK, Europe, South America, there's over 1 million diaspora. So the potential impact from this diaspora is tremendous. So sign up. I'll give it again. thenewtribe.com.ng.
Do we have someone in the waiting room looking to ask a question? I think there's a question or two in the comments about INEC, what we need to do to resolve it, given the amount of corruption that occurred during the last election. It's been chopped up, but that's the synopsis.
Well, I know there's a lot of talks and everything. Even us intends to propose some amendments we will require within the law before the next election. It's not going to be everything, you know.
Well, here in the U.S., we talk a lot about fake news. It's not a U.S. problem. It's a worldwide phenomenon. What is your plan, or what do you think we can do to address misinformation? And what strategies would you implement to sort of make sure that people have a reliable source for true and accurate information?
Well, quite frankly, there's no way you can say there won't be fake news. It's like saying there will never be fake products. Governments globally, even in the US, are fighting to ensure that fake products are not in the market. They're fighting to know that all those bad things are not out there. The same thing they're fighting for fake news. Fake news all over the place. While I was reading a lot of them where they would write this about Biden, this about Kamala Harris, everybody, you know, so there's fake news all over the place. It's just for you to manage to separate which one is fake, which one is not.
So we are coming close to the end of time. I think we have a couple more questions for people from Instagram Live. So if you are ready, Mr. Ike, are you ready? You're on Instagram Live?
Not to be live.
You're on NoireTV Live. I don't know if we've lost them or they're coming back. So let me take this opportunity. We recently spoke with several current students at the Wharton School of Business, and they have an annual conference, the Wharton Africa Business Forum, and they have graciously would be over the moon to have you as their keynote speaker. The Wharton Africa Business Forum is every year it's November 15th through 16th. And so on behalf of them, I would like to extend an invitation to you formally to be the keynote speaker. And for those of you who are in the Philadelphia area, please definitely make a point to attend this conference, and hopefully you'll consider attending and being there as a keynote.
No problem. For me, visiting schools and engaging with students is critical, especially when we're talking about young ones, which I said, they will be the engine for New Nigeria. Ours is to build the foundation. They will build the structures because they're being trained, they have what it takes. They've lived in Western world, they've lived in better part of the world, they've seen things work better. So they will be the drivers of this new Nigeria we're talking about. We can do it. Yeah. We just exist now. Ours is to lay the foundation to show that here we have good governance. Governance that is humanitarian, cares about the people, government that is investing in education. I want to see schools in every corner of the north educating people. The young ones that are met in our Almajiri schools that are learning the Quran, I want to see them, while learning Quran, also learning English, learning mathematics, learning physics, everything. When they now be the tools, the workers, that these ones that are here and all over the globe will use in building New Nigeria.
Fantastic, and I know they'll be excited to have you. Mr. Nicholas, you're on NoireTV Live. You may be the last question, so please go ahead, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and ask your question.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Peter Obi. My name is Nicholas. I'm from Imo State, Nigeria. I live in the United States. My question is about wasteful spending in government. As someone who was a governor of a state, I look at Nigeria and I wonder how we've been able to purchase, the government of the day has been able to purchase some wasteful resources that we do not need, and it's almost as if we as a people are powerless. So as someone who was governor in his time, how can the people stop this government from continuously wasting our resources? I don't know if that's like it's going to be a means of an advice to us or a pathway for us to be able to stop this wasteful spending. We cannot continue to demand vocally. Are there directions that we can use to stop wasteful spending in Nigeria amongst our government as of today?
Well, there's no other way apart from to continue being very vocal and condemning that wasteful expenditure and saying that the resources should be used for the good of the people in other areas that are critical areas of development. Like we've always advocated, we can't continue what we're doing now, both at national and sub-national level, with the expenditure. We need to do something drastic to cut the expenditure and waste and use the money very meaningful.
Oh, thank you, sir. Good morning, Mr. Peter Obi. This is Hena Chairman from Riverside, California.
Yes.
My question is that how do you see those of us who are citizens of the United States helping to improve governance vis-a-vis interacting with our legislators our senators, particularly now that we're in the campaign season and we have relationship with our politicians who are trying to get into governance, how can we as Nigerians in the diaspora advocate, lobby, educate them to really understand what are the issues or what are the things that are very important to us? Because my belief is that good governance in Nigeria will come by the active participation of the Nigerian diaspora, well-meaning Nigerians like you and the youths. So how do we leverage this in our country of citizenship?
Thank you, Mr. Merwa. You know, I don't consider you a citizen of the United States because you've done quite a lot to show that you are a Nigerian, an African of repute, by your continuous involvement positively in areas of good governance, by your continuous visits and everything. And like I keep saying, Africa, especially Nigeria, cannot change and grow without involvement, active involvement of its diaspora population. They did it in other Asian countries. Even must do it in Nigeria. It is the millions of diaspora Nigerians outside now will engage and work with the remaining meaningful committed politicians locally to change. We have a criminalized situation now where our politics and governance have become completely transactional. It is not, so the people inside there cannot effectively change it. You require people from outside. It's like you have a war situation where people inside are virtually captured. So to rescue them, you need troops from outside that will help with what is inside to be able to rescue them. So we cannot do it without you. Even after we start seeing good governance, which has told the young people, we lay the foundation. It is even your children who you are now paying to go to Ivy League universities in America now come home and help to build that. Because they've seen good governance. They know what it is. They know that a good society benefits everybody. While a faith society impoverishes everybody. So they know the value of education. They know the value. All those people I'm talking, they are the ones who know that no piece of land should be uncultivated. Because they've seen that you live in California, which is the biggest economy in America. It is not coming from oil. It is coming from agriculture. It's coming from knowledge. It's coming from this. So it's people like you that will require to help us to build the new Nigeria, where that we cannot be dependent on a diminishing asset called oil.
Again, you know, engagement.
My question, sir, is how can we then educate, or how do we influence our political leaders, our representatives, our senators, to understand the value of good governance in Nigeria so that we can get there?
The only way that you can educate them is to work with those you think that believes in good governance, those that are doing the right thing. There's still maybe 5–10% of Nigerians who still believe that things can be done differently. Let's work with that small number in bringing about change. Because I believe that 80–90% of us have actually made a decision that they would not want anything to work because they live off the confusion.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're coming short on time. If there's one more question in the waiting room, then we'll be happy to take that question.
Yeah, Frank Udenta from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm just joining, and I just have one or two questions. The first question is, what should or what is the plan moving forward to ensure that INEC doesn't disenfranchise voters? Which, something that was very critical in the last election. That's number one. Number two is, as part of
Can you repeat that your question again?
The first question I have is about what is the plan moving forward in the next cycle? What you will do to make sure that voters are not disenfranchised the way they were in the last election? That's number one. Number two is with respect to education. I'm involved with the CIC Foundation, and we have been doing what we can to lift our school up. And I'm trying to see how that ties into your plan for education in the future.
Well, first is that there's not much I can do to see that what happened last time will not happen again, except, like I said, we will be doing whatever we can to change the rules. And we're going to do it through amendment of the electoral law. We're going to do it by ensuring that whatever method INEC decides to conduct the election, like they said last time, they're going to use this and this, stays. They're not going to change the rule at the middle of the game. They have to say one thing and stick to it. We're going to share that collection is done in real time online so that everybody can see it. We watched South African election from Nigeria. Everybody saw Kenya election. Everybody saw. So you can't be giant of Africa when you cannot do simple things like election. So we need to do it properly. That one. On what they're talking about CIC and what the old boys are doing, I thank you people for the great work and urge you to continue. For me, I've said it several times, it's been shown, every studies have shown that the more a country is educated, the more developed. Because it is human infrastructure that you need to build before you talk about physical infrastructure. So for me, education is the number one thing to aggressively pursue, especially in the north. So education is one, education again. So I'm going to pursue education and health simultaneously as number one and number two. Number three is to start pulling people out of poverty by ensuring that the farmers go back to farm, there's critical areas, security, everything, that all these are working. So it's not, education is fundamental. It's not just about supporting CIC, it's about ensuring that things work.
Thank you so much for your time this morning, and I think maybe the most appropriate point to end on is maybe with a message for your followers who are fondly known as the Obedience. Those who have been following you from day one, still here, very active on social media. What message would you tell them as they've seen you through the election, they're watching you at the DNC, they're watching now? What message do you have for your followers who've been supporting you?
Well, I've always said it, that will remain as the family. I know at this time, there's so much temptation, there's so much effort to see that there's problem within us. There's so much of people trying to push. There's moment of I'm committed and believe in our family charter. And we should remain as a family. And I assure you, one of the things I listened in this National Democratic Institute the International Leaders Forum conference is what was said by one of the former NATO secretary, who is a former parliamentarian in the UK and one of the lords now. He said, whenever you lose the election, the first thing that comes is that your followers and your members scatter, because people will come, do all sorts of things and everything. And I was saying, if this can happen in the Western world, imagine what is happening in Nigerian situation, where people label you all sorts of things and everything, where people tell you, oh, you're not serious, so people will tell you all this. All because some people are trying to see if we can dismantle our organic nature. What I'm pleading with the people is that we should remain together. I am there. And like I always said, even if we are remaining 10, we will remain there. What we want to see is a better Nigeria that cares for poor people, that cares for the average Nigerian, that ensures that Nigeria must have a level playing field, and have demonstrated so in business, in corporate life, and in governance. And one person who can say today, I have had the opportunity of managing public resources, and I manage so efficiently. I've had the opportunity of managing public resources because I've been a chairman of quoted companies, including bank, and nobody will find me wanting in those. I've been a private businessman, no supplier, no business relationship. Have I in any way been found to do the wrong thing or have issues to quarrel with anybody or go to court? No. I've always done the right things within the law as much as I can. Knowingly, I've always done the right things. And I'll continue to do so. And that's what I'm urging the obedience. Let's remain together. There's no alternative to what we're doing today. All people will be telling you, oh, we are going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. What they're offering you is the same thing you've rejected in the election. Let's continue to starve.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, spending time with us, being willing to try this new format. We know young people, they're on social media, so for you to make yourself available and have them ask you direct questions is not lost on us. I don't think any other politician has done anything like this. So we greatly appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
And for everyone watching, you can catch NoireTV on Optimum Cablevision channel 1100 and Verizon Fios channel 269. If you're in the Caribbean, South America, Central America, we're on Digicel. And you can always catch us live on Instagram. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, are you a member of the Nigerian diaspora, frustrated with what's going on at home, and looking for a way to get engaged in the process of change? Here it is. This is the new tribe. It will be officially announced on 1 October, but the website is active today. So if you want to get engaged in the solution with other solution-minded individuals, here's the website, The New Tribe, one word, thenewtribe.com.ng. Sign up today. You'll find it's a well-constructed site, and it can be the vehicle for you to engage productively in good governance in Nigeria. Thank you.
NoireTV, showing on Verizon Fios channel 269, Optimum channel 1100, and on Digicel. Or on our website www.noiretv.com, or download the app from the App Store or Play Store.